I posted a furniture mark removal hack that was viewed by millions of people, but I made a mistake. Part of this video is me taking accountability for the mistake and coming up with a better solution. For everyone who hasn't seen the video, let me talk you through it. So basically the video is removing furniture marks from carpet using an ice block to rub over the fibers to moisten them, and then using a fork that you have in your home to raise the fibers. Don't get me wrong, this does work, but it poses a couple of issues that a lot of people have not only brought to my attention, but something that I started to think about in more detail. Firstly, using an ice block or even a spray of water can leave a huge amount of moisture on the fibers, which then can run the risk of producing mildew or mold buildup underneath the fibers themselves. So then I asked myself, how do you produce the perfect amount of moisture to raise the fibers with the fork and leaving the mark as is without having to air out the room? Sure, some people out there will say, oh, it doesn't really matter. But consider this, when you replace furniture, or when you're moving furniture, or when you're about to move out from an apartment and 100 other scenarios, those carpet dents can cause you problems. It's the first thing that people notice when they walk into your living room. It may be the first thing that your partner notices when they walk into your bedroom. And it can also be the first thing that a landlord notices after the place has already been cleaned out. And will that affect your bond? It's shocking how much a carpet dent can affect the look of your home and potentially cost you money when trying to get your bond back in a rental situation. I hated the thought of someone using one of my videos and saying, hey, this works. Oh, but now there's mildew buildup in the carpet, and every time I try to use it in different parts of the house, I'm racing against the clock. I then have to keep going back and forth between the freezer and doing everything super fast. Imagine if you lived in a double-story home and your fridge and freezer are downstairs. That would become a massive hassle. I wanted to create an item that was reusable and could be used multiple times in one sitting. I came up with the idea of a reusable ice ball, something like a ball bearing, but it needed to have something different about it. Some of my previous tests were with a stainless steel ball bearing, but it did a terrible job. It took way longer to freeze, and when it did condensate, it produced too much fluid or not enough, and it was very inconsistent. After repeated failures with a stainless steel ball bearing, and I had the manufacturers add a non-toxic phase change glycerin into the ball itself so that it can freeze real easily. I struck stainless steel gold. What could have been a very mediocre product, a stainless steel ball bearing that everyone just shrugs their shoulders at, I produced an ice ball that is perfect for carpets, that has unique properties, that produces a dewing point, which helps reach the fibers a lot more readily and easily. If you're using one of my ice balls, you know it's going to get a consistent result every time. I then reflected on the fact that people were using a food utensil for their carpets, something them and their families walk on. I don't care what anyone says, when you use a fork that you normally use for eating to fix something that's on the ground where people are walking, even after you've washed it, it's always going to be in the back of your mind when you put it back into the drawer. Is that the one that made contact with the ground? And if you're the type of person who thinks like that, don't worry, we're on the same page here. That's why when I came up with the design of my product, I added a fork to the set so you wouldn't have to worry about that. The fork is set for removing furniture marks only. Yes, you could literally use it as a fork, but that's not what it's designed for in this one particular case. So after a lot of research in regards to the science of condensation, product quality, manufacturing, and logistics to make sure that it can get to the people who want it and need it, I came up with the fork and furniture mark removal set. Maybe you're moving house and you've had the carpet cleaned, but the dents are still present, and the carpet cleaners just shrug their shoulders and say, it'll go away with time. Do you really want to trust that the landlord's not going to look for an excuse to charge you some more money for quote unquote carpet damage when it's not actually damaged and can be solved with something like the Forkum set? Maybe you want your living room and your bedroom to be more feng shui, and someone is recommended to move your furniture in a specific way to make the energy and the flow or the feel of the room better. You don't want to have to compromise the look of your carpet in order to achieve that goal, which will affect your energy because it'll be the first thing you notice. But I digress. Back to the story. It wasn't enough for it to just work on my carpet, so I tested it on a variety of different carpets. I went to a local carpet store and said, give me 4 large samples of your most commonly used carpets and make them as different as possible from each other. They were a little confused, but they sold me a bunch of samples for $40. I bought the lot, took them home, embedded marks into them over a week, removed it, saw the carpet marks, and I tested the product on all different types of carpet: wool, shag, polyether, polyether. I'm not pronouncing that correctly, and a variety of other carpet types, and it worked on every single one. This is my way of making it up to people for showing them the ice and water method when there was a much better way to solve the problem for you and your family. So if you'd like to try out my Forcum furniture mark removal set, knowing about the process, where it came from, where it is now, and how I tested it over and over again to make sure it's perfect for you, feel free to click the link in my bio and you can get one yourself. I'd really appreciate it if you give a like, a subscribe, hit the bell thing, and I will see you next time.